Committed to their team members and their customers. And that means treating your vehicle like it's their own and finding solutions that suit your needs. Because whatever the road brings ahead, they're on it with you. Visit fountaintire.com today.
Babcock Concrete Products. From concrete and septic tanks to blocks, precast water pads, Jersey barriers and aggregates. Farmers, contractors, homeowners. Plan your next project at babcockconcrete.com. Family owned, over 60 years pouring. Babcock Concrete Products. Once again, start here. babcockconcrete.com.
Save big this summer on Crave. Right now, get 40% off with a premium annual plan and stream the romantic blockbuster, Wuthering Heights. New season of the reality TV sensation, Love Island USA.
Pretty hot over here.
And the epic HBO original returns, House of the Dragon.
This is the moment you become queen.
Plus, select live FIFA World Cup matches. Get 40% off with a premium annual plan for your first year. Offer ends July 20th. Visit crave.ca/subscribe.
Here's the Lowdown with Lowetide on Sports 1440.
Presented by Wolf GMC Buick. We're making it easy. WolfGMCBuick.com.
Welcome to the Lowdown. Today's show, Oilers hire Mike Babcock and DJ Smith, and we're looking to get you the media avail in two shakes. What does it mean? It means shot and goal suppression, and it starts today, and we'll tell you all about it as the afternoon rolls along. Lowdown with Lowetide brought to you by Wolf GMC Buick on Sports 1440 and YouTube. Get 0% financing up to 72 months on select new 2026 Sierra and 1,500 models. Visit WolfGMCBuick.com. As I mentioned, we're on YouTube and Sports 1440. Our headliner of the day at 1 o'clock today will be Zack Lang. We're live on iHeartRadio, Radio Player Canada, and Sports1440.ca. Apple and Spotify podcast after the show. We're on Twitter at Lowetide at Declan Krueger, JFenwick04, as well as Donovan Paulson. And you can text us at 833-401-1440, 833-401-1440. Mention that DJ Smith is an associate coach, much like John Muckler when he was a member of the Edmonton Oilers back in the day and eventually became the head coach. So that's a nice little wrinkle that we didn't know about until earlier today. Okay, do we have time for the introductions before the media avail?
I think so.
Okay.
But we might have to cut them short.
Okay, I'll be really brief. He's decided to adopt a more disciplined style during the Mike Babcock era, meaning only 3 trips to the bathroom during the Lowdown each day. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Josh Fenwick. Josh Fenwick, everybody.
No, we will be keeping my standard 1 bathroom break every 10 minutes.
He has decided to adopt a more disciplined style during the Mike Babcock era as well, meaning he'll double down on calling texters miserable pricks. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Donovan Paulson. Donovan Paulson, everybody.
This is true. I will embrace my inner back.
Love it. Just love it. He's decided to adopt a more disciplined style during the Mike Babcock era, meaning more Miami Heat talk. And oh my, did he pick a good day for that. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Declan Krueger. Declan Krueger.
What an unreal day to be overshadowed by a Babs presser, hey?
It's incredible. I mean, like, the only thing in your world that could do it was what happened. You know?
Pretty much.
Oh, man.
Ronaldo's 2 goals doesn't help either, but hey, what are you going to do?
We're just ahead of this. As soon as it starts, we'll take you to it, and we'll give you a review of what was said, and then we'll spend the rest of the show parsing it and talking about obviously huge news for the Edmonton Oilers. We're expecting a spirited media avail. I don't have time to run down all of the ones that went in certain directions, but we remember there's something in the water. If you have to ask the question, I've got some Stanley Cup rings, and that's ever a question. There's been a lot of moments that are memorable in media avails in Edmonton, and we don't have Dan Barnes anymore, but we've got lots going on, and here it is.
Welcome, everyone. Thanks for taking some time here. I thought I would start by giving kind of a recap of where we've been, and then turn it over to Mike for his comments. So we started, I shouldn't say we started, we met the last time in this room probably 6 or 7 weeks ago at the end of our season. And at that time, I explained that the plan was to do a thorough review of our team. We had a disappointing end to the season, so we wanted to evaluate all aspects of the team, and that's where we left it. So a lot has happened since that point. Those conversations that I had revolved around internal discussions with management people. We did a thorough analytical review of what happened this season on the ice. I also had the exit meetings with the players, got their perspective on things. And then we took some time to reflect, as a management group on where we wanted to go. So we made a decision that we felt we needed a new voice to be the leader of the team from the coaching perspective. So we made the change. And then that set in motion a new process and trying to find the next coach. So we spent some time discussing what attributes that coach would ideally have. And part of it was in analyzing our season and what went well, what didn't go well, and also trying to look at what we think we need in order to get to the next level. Some of those attributes we decided that were imperative were a coach with some experience. And the last two coaches that the Oilers had hired were first-time coaches. And I think at the time that they were brought in, it made a lot of sense and it was a really good fit. And I think you have to look at where the organization is right now. And at this moment in time, I think we need something different than we had before. Qualities that we were looking for were someone who has a strong pedigree, a lot of experience. This is a hockey market here. The fans are passionate. The expectations are high. So we were looking for somebody that clearly had an experience, also had a winning pedigree. That was important. So we set out to speak to those people. So, we had a process that we put in place. We went through it. I talked to some different coaches. And I remember placing a call to Mike. I know Mike a little bit. He was in Detroit when my dad was there as an advisor. And, so I've had a friendly relationship with Mike for a while. And I know those days in Detroit when he was coaching and my dad had just finished coaching, they would talk hockey every day. And my dad would talk about, Mike's mind for the game and his attention to detail. So I was familiar with Mike, but I hadn't spoken to him in a few years. So I placed that call and, kind of learned what he was doing, and also asked him if he was interested in talking about the position in Edmonton. And I remember his answer was like, I've got a great thing going on here. I've enjoyed my life. But he said, your situation's really interesting. Let me think about it. So we had a couple of follow-up conversations. And then that led to an in-person meeting with myself and Mike and Jeff Jackson. The three of us met probably 3.5 hours. We talked about our team, asked a lot of deep dive on a variety of topics. And I left that conversation very impressed with Mike's knowledge of the game, knowledge of our team, perspective and insight on how he could be a helpful member of where we're going with this team. And I was really impressed. And I went into that meeting really with no expectations. I had a lot of questions to ask. I walked out of there very impressed. And part of the conversations in that meeting, Mike said to us, I think if you want to continue to talk, I would want to have a conversation with some of the players just to understand where their mind's at as well. And I'm sure Mike will get into that. So then that took place as well. Mike met with some of our players. The next part of the process is we had a meeting with ownership. So this went on it stretched out for a long period of time. And once we crossed all those bridges and we really felt Mike was the guy, then we reached out to the NHL to contact them and get their, I guess, their thoughts on Mike returning to coach for us, and they wanted to do a review of things, and it took a little bit of time, so we were patient with that. And at the conclusion of that, they said that they put their release out, whatever it was, about a week or so ago, and then we moved forward. So that's what took us here today. Very excited to be sitting here in front of you with these two great coaches. DJ was also part of this process most recently once Mike was excited to join our staff. We started talking about how we could make this an elite coaching staff, and DJ's experience as a head coach as well as an associate coach, he's done a little bit of everything. He's had a great track record, so I'm excited, and I'll turn it over to Mike.
Thanks very much, Stan. I think you covered everything I was going to say, but well done. Honey, thanks for coming here today and being with me, and thanks for agreeing to let us have this opportunity. And then for my kids, I know you'll be watching. Love you, appreciate your support. You know, it feels to me today is kind of like it was in 2002 when I joined Anaheim. You're joining the best league in the world, and you have a feeling of gratitude. You're grateful. I mean, it's an unbelievable place. I'm a Western Canada guy. The oil has the fans like nobody, so it's a special, special thing. I have to tell you, I was enjoying retirement like you can't believe, and never thought that we'd be back in this room or coach again. My son was coaching. I get to break down lots of clips and watch lots of hockey because he's involved, so you get your juices that way. But I never thought of this. Stan kind of told you what happened when they reached out. The little caveat, though, was when I knew that I was going to get together with Connor, Leon, and Zach, that was worth the drive. I got to tell you, that kind of changed everything. And, you know, Stan said it when I sat in the meeting with Jackson, him and Harrison, after 3.5 hours, and we'd gone through everything, it was very evident there was an alignment there. And we went back and forth on what we had to do to get to be championship material. And you left that meeting thinking, this is pretty good. When I sat down with the players, now that was just phenomenal. So the interaction with star players who want nothing more than to win and tell you how they're willing to change and adjust to make that happen, it's pretty exciting for a coach. And I have to tell you, I went through in detail the changes that would have to be made for us to have success when it mattered. And when they said they were all in, like Stan said, the next step was to get together with the ownership group. And it's so important when you're the coach or the general manager of a National Hockey League team that you're all aligned. What I mean by that is there's going to be lots of hard communication. But as long as that communication is straightforward and behind closed doors and respectful of one another, you have a chance to improve the organization and get better. And that's what those 4 hours were. I was so impressed. You know, I'd really like to actually thank Daryl at this time. Just the way he stood up here in the last 3 weeks, I'm so impressed. I'm so impressed with his family and what he's done that I'm thankful. So just to wrap up here, you know, obviously a lot of things have changed since I talked about in 02. It's 26 today. The league's changed. The players change. And you have to change and grow as a coach. You just have to. I know from experience what won at the Olympics in Vancouver in 2010 couldn't win in Sochi at 2014. You have to adjust. You have to get better. You have to change. And that's what that process starts here tomorrow. Is there's going to be continued collaboration with our players, but we're very excited to get going, and we're real thankful for this opportunity. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Stan. Thank you, Mike. We're going to open it up to the media. So for questions, please raise your hand, wait for the microphone, state your name, your organization, and we'll begin. So why don't we start up front here, Ryan?
Mike, welcome to Edmonton.
Thanks, Ryan.
Just wanted to go back to Columbus, or just maybe looking for some clarity there. You issued a statement after the guys on the podcast had talked about you looking at players' phones and such. And you basically said, this was irresponsible of them to be suggesting there was anything wrong with it. Then within a few days, when the PA looks into things, you're essentially exiting that scenario and John Davidson and saying you made players very uncomfortable. Mike, what happened in Columbus and why did you choose to walk away?
Well, I chose to walk away really straightforward, and I appreciate the question here. It was very evident before the year started. I hadn't benched anybody. I hadn't talked to anybody. I hadn't sat anybody out. And it was evident that we weren't together as a staff right from the get-go. My wife gave me a call and she said, it's time to get out of there. I'd been retired. I was pretty good at it. I got back to being retired.
So, Mike, the reporting that's out there has been about you looking through players' cell phones, asking them to share photos and such. Like, at any point, Mike, do you feel you stepped over the line with the way you handled that situation? And is there anything else that maybe we haven't heard about that happened there that resulted in you walking away?
No, to be honest with you, anytime you make anybody feel uncomfortable in your life, you should take a look at yourself and you should say, how could I do that better? And I think that's what you do as a person, is you try to always be better at what you do. The situation in Columbus, they've had a full review, and I'm thankful to NHL and NHLP for doing that. It didn't work out for us. We're excited about making it work here.
Thanks. Next question. Go ahead.
Mark Spector, Sportsnet. Welcome to town. 2 years ago, Stan was sitting in that chair, and he was coming from Chicago, and he was telling us about, he had reconciled with Cal Beach. He had spent a lot of time with Sheldon Kennedy. He had several character references that told us that he deserved another chance, a second chance. So I'd ask you, Mike, what have you done over the past 2-3 years to deserve what would be a third chance?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think the big thing is just about trying to improve yourself and get better. I'm real fortunate that I have 3 adult children. We talk on a daily basis about how you improve, what you do to get better. I'm real comfortable with the group we're going to have here surrounding me. I'm real comfortable with the management team. I'm comfortable with the interaction I've had with the players and how we've walked through how the interaction is going to be and how straightforward. And obviously they're comfortable or I wouldn't be here. And I thought that was important to have that happen. So a weekend they can't be suddenly uncomfortable. So we went through that whole process to make sure we're moving ahead here. And like I said to you, I'm excited about the opportunity.
Stan, as far as, all those sort of intangibles, character, past history, all those things, given the hiring practices this team has made and given the fact that, Vegas hires Carter Hart, puts him in goal to go right to the cup. Should the Edmonton Oilers, or do the Edmonton Oilers really care what anyone thinks about the character of the people they hire?
Well, Mark, I guess I look at it a little bit differently. Like, we certainly do care about the people that we work with every day, and it matters that the people that we interact with have good experiences, and that's important to me. And I've communicated that to Mike and to DJ, and not just them, but the whole staff here. Is there's been progress in sports over the last 10, 15 years to where positive progress, to where you have to understand what not just makes the athletes tick, but also the staff that supports those athletes. We're all in this together. We're a big family, and there's a trust level that is important here, that I need to trust Mike that he's going to operate that way, and he needs to trust me that we're going to do the same thing with everyone that we interact with. So it's important what we do from this point forward. And I understand the questions that you're asking. There's going to be people wondering. We can't change the past, and really what matters is our actions, not so much. I mean, our words matter as well, but I think everyone here who's skeptical, they want to see what actually happens and how we interact with our players, and that matters to me. And we've had great conversations, been very open, clear, explicit about what we expect. There's nothing wrong with holding players accountable for their performance, but also doing it in a way that's respectful, and that's what we expect here. So, I'm excited about where we're headed. I think Mike's got an incredible knowledge of the game of hockey, but also as you go through experiences like we all have, you grow from them. I mean, hopefully you do. I believe in talking to Mike at length that you recognize how you can operate differently moving forward. So, it's exciting to think of those possibilities.
Can we get that turned off, please? Thank you. We'll go up front here to Bob.
Bob Stauffer, Oilers Radio Network. This question's for Mike. Mike, it's a players' league, and you alluded to it a bit, but can you perhaps shed some insight just in terms of the conversation that you specifically had with Connor, Leon, and Zach, and maybe a bit about what you sort of reinforced from your perspective, what you were looking for, because I'm going to assume that it was a fairly animated conversation. They had questions for you, but you also had some questions for them.
Well, 100%, Bob. Thanks for the question. I mean, obviously, when you're sitting with those players, number one, you're having fun, but they've played the game long enough, and they're good enough players. They have opinions about how things should be. I'm fortunate as a coach, I've had lots of success, and I have thoughts on how things have to be, and we discussed them in detail. We broke down what was going on in the playoffs. We walked through the clips. We walked through how it would be done here and how it's going to be done moving ahead. And we talked about Leon, Connor, Zach Hyman, and the rest of this leadership group want to get better. And that's what they've asked of me. And they've told me, we have to be better, and we expect you to make us better. And I said, well, that's great to talk about in June. When camp starts and you're making a guy do things, you might not be so happy. And they said, no, that's not how it's going to be. We're all committed all in on winning. And obviously in that time period, we had gone through enough things and talked about enough things that they felt comfortable with the process, or I wouldn't be here. And I was very clear to them, unless you're 100% all in on Mike Babcock, I have no interest in being the coach.
Thanks very much. We'll go over here to Reed. Go ahead.
Thanks. Question for Stan. Context of a couple things here, and Mike's been asked about Columbus and this being a third chance, and things that are said about him. He also hasn't been on an NHL bench since I think November of 2019. So those two things to me seem that there's like risk to this hire in terms of the reputation and the time away from the game. Like, what ultimately made you think that those risks are worth taking here?
Well, I wondered the same thing. I had questions about that to Mike when we met, about the fact that you haven't been behind the bench. And I think the one thing is coaches of Mike's level of experience and accomplishment don't forget how to coach. He's been, sometimes perspective away from it is not a bad thing. And I was impressed with his level of detail, how close he's still following the game. I think, it helps that his son was working and, he was serving as a resource to him. So, when you asked him about specific things that are going on in the game today, he was right on it. I mean, his perspective and insight in that was, I think it's going to be like riding a bike. I think he's going to be, when that first practice hits in training camp, by the time you get to the regular season, his instincts and his experience is going to lead the way for us.
Mike, do you feel that about the gap between being on a bench? Like, do you feel like, hey, I got to get moving again, or how do you look at the time away?
Well, I had a few drinks with Q there at All-Star break, him and his wife, my wife, and I asked him exactly the same thing. And he said, well, the first exhibition game, you kind of figure out how to run the bench again, and then you get rolling. So, like Stan said, I spent a year at the University of Saskatchewan hiring their next coach, and ended up with my son. I've done that. But then since that time, my son's been in the National Hockey League, either with DJ in Ottawa or St. Louis, or then in Anaheim. And so you're watching NHL games, breaking them down, talking about it all the time. Anyway, you're pretty current. Now my skating, you know, like they're going to buy me some new skates. I might have to get out there a little bit and take a twirl before camp, or someone could be going down and probably be me.
I just like to jump in. Just one, unfortunately, Jimmy Hiller was let go in LA, and I was given the opportunity to take over. And the first person I called right away was Mike. I know that he follows the game. I give him a couple projects. It was good to give him some stuff to do and tell him to have a timeline. But I can tell you just today, just our first interaction with the staff in the back room, and what we went over, it's not what I think works. It's not what he thinks works. It's what the league says works by numbers. And that was the first thing we did is systems. Who's the best at it? Why are they the best at it? Is our personnel at that level to do it that way, or do we got to look another way? And just the way it ran, it flipped the clock back real quick, 10 years. But I would have no doubt in my mind, and I wouldn't have come here, when Mike told me that the players, how bad they want to win. And I, as well, am craving that is to win in the National Hockey League and to win a Stanley Cup. And that's why I'm here. I'm going to do everything, I can. I think I'm going to coach close to my 1,000th game this year in the National Hockey League. And whatever Mike's missed out on, I'm sure I'll fill him in quick, and then he'll take back over about a second later.
Thank you, DJ. We'll go to the front here, Jason.
Jason Greger, Sports 1440. Mike, you mentioned that it's important for you respect in conversations and closed doors, and you said you talked to the players and how they got to be full in on Mike Babcock. Well, part of Mike Babcock's history from a lot of former players is at a time you weren't necessarily respectful to them and how you interacted with them. So how can you change that side of you where you can be hard on players but not be a dick?
I think that's a great question. Being hard on people. A lot of times being hard on them is confused with telling the truth. I think when a kid sits at your kitchen table and is one of your children and they ask you a question, you should tell them the truth. That's called love. Sometimes the truth is hard for them. No matter what happens when you coach, when you scratch people, when you sit them out, when they're at the end of your career and you don't play them, it's hard for them for sure. You try to do that as respectfully as you can. Why? Because you think you're a good human being and that's the right thing to do. Sometimes it's not perceived that way. But I think the other thing is, and I thought Stan said it great, anytime you're out of something and you sit back and you have perspective, you're allowed to grow as a human being. You're out to get better. And I think that's what this league's all about, is getting better. The other thing I said, and I'd reiterate, is my children are at the age in their careers, they got an opinion on everything. And they sure got an opinion on their dad and what he says and his tone and how to be respectful. I actually don't think my intentions are wrong that often. I think sometimes my tone is for sure, and we have to work at that. What I've done by hiring DJ, Farley's been with me before. TD Force and I have been together since '93 in Spokane. We're surrounded by people that are going to make you accountable, make you better. They're not afraid of you. They've worked with you. They're friends of yours, but they also know what's right. And I think that's our job, right from the ownership to the management team, through the coaching staff, through the players, is to make each other better, and that's what we're going to do.
DJ, I'll ask this, having been a head coach yourself now since you were an assistant with Mike, working as a team, do you feel that, Mike's an intense guy, that will you have to ensure that he doesn't cross that line just because of the past history? And does the closest in your relationship allow you to be able to say, hey, we can't do it that way?
Yeah, for sure. But I think a lot of times it's misconstrued. Is Mike was as hard on me as a young coach as any player probably, or a lot of players. And it took me some time as a coach, in my first year with him to figure out, where we were going and how he did things. And I think knowing him and, having his son, Michael, come live with me in Ottawa and being the eye in the sky there when my buddy Bob Jones got sick. I know his personality. I know, that he wants to be calm on the bench and in certain situations. And I think, he is really calm on the bench. And I think if Mike's, we're going to do whatever we have to do in the back, I'm not afraid to tell Mike the truth. And, when I was a rookie coach, you just don't know the NHL. And to say you can win in junior and come to the NHL, it's the same. It's absolute not true. You have to learn the league. You have to learn what's right, what's wrong, what works, what doesn't work. And here I am, I think in my 12th or 13th year now. I know, one thing is I love players. And I think that's, been well broadcast around the league is that I love players. I love to talk to players. And I'll continue to do that. And I'm not afraid to tell Mike, I think we should do it this way. Ultimately, he's the head coach. Mike's got to make those decisions. And that's why he's won, a lot of championships and gold medals. So I guess a long answer, but to say, certainly if I feel something, I'm going to say it.
And one quick one, Mike, listening to it, you talk about obviously the top guys and they have to buy in. Lots of the players that didn't necessarily like or publicly criticize Mike were more depth guys, young guys. So that's maybe the area. The top guys never really complained. You hold them accountable. They want to win. But how can you then ensure that the younger guys feel part of it, that they don't necessarily feel the negative wrath? Like we heard what Chris Chelios said about Johan Franzen, which to me I think is crossing the line if you call a player what Chelios said. But how do you ensure then that you're going to do that with your young guys and your depth guys to be accountable with them without being demeaning?
Well, I think that's a great question. What I think a huge priority here is to create depth in the organization, and everybody on this team has to be important. And I'm not talking about Stan and more players. I'm talking about the coaching staff doing a better job so everyone on the team is important. It's interesting you say that. I'm harder on the best guys by far than on the guys trying to survive every day. But if you're going to have success and all you have to do is watch what happened in this year's playoffs, everybody on that team's got to be important, right down to the guys that don't play every single night. And the more depth you create and the more they feel important, the better chance you have to have success. So I actually heard everything you said. I believe the opposite. I believe we're going to empower all those players and they're going to love it as much as anybody. I think it's the big dogs that are going to be going, he's going to make me do that. He wants me to do that. I think it's harder on them.
Yeah, I think that's something that we talked about in the process of the hiring process. One of the biggest things that we need to do to be successful next year is we have to have more of a team than we did last year. It was far too tilted to just a handful of players. And that puts a huge load on those guys. It's a ton of stress, pressure. So they love playing. Like players love to play, but I think that they played too much, and there was not room for other players to play more. And Mike has been very clear on that. Like from the first time we started talking about the roster, that was one of the things, and it was. I didn't let him know what I was thinking. But it was music to my ears when he said, like, you got to get more players in the game here. You got to get more guys involved. You got to give them roles that they can embrace, that they may not be great at it right away. Like it doesn't just happen in game 1, 2, and 3 of the season. We got to work through it, but we have to get to the point where we have a real team, because then those players feel better about themselves. Their teammates feel better about them, and they start to believe like this guy's going to make a difference. So yeah, I'm not playing as much as I was, but that's because this guy's playing more and he's doing a great job. We have to get there. Now it's not going to necessarily be a straight line to getting there. And that's the art of coaching. But these two guys here and the rest of our staff, they understand that. Like that's when I think Mike said, like there's alignment from the top down. We see it the exact same way. We can't have another year where we have these players that are so marginalized and they have their minutes are low. They don't have any role on the team. That's not going to happen.
Thank you. We'll go over here to Slav.
Stan, with free agency right around the corner, do you have any concern that this hire could make your job of convincing free agents to come to Edmonton more difficult?
I guess that remains to be seen, but no, that's not a concern. Just the conversations we had with our two guys we just re-signed, and Dickinson and Murphy, had great chats with both of them. At the end of the day, players are focused on their own preparation, their game. Certainly they think about things like coaches, but I think at the end of the day, they got to prepare themselves and do what they can to come in. And, you know, coaches want to win and they want to put good players on the ice. So as a player, I think you're looking for that opportunity, and the understanding everything Mike just said is we're trying to find more roles for guys. So if you come here, you're going to have the opportunity. We're looking to give more players bigger roles than they did last year.
Thanks, Stan. We have time just for a few more, but we'll go to Derek here in the middle.
Hey, Stan, Derek Van Diest, NHL.com. You got Connor McDavid going into the first of his 2-year deal. Does this organization feel like the clock is ticking now to win a championship before he decides whether or not he wants to stay here? And when Mike Babcock's name first came up, a lot of people said it sounds like a kind of a desperation move, a bit of a Hail Mary. Is this a Hail Mary, and are you guys on the clock?
I think I've been asked that question maybe from the first day I started about being on the clock. So I don't know how much more on the clock we are now than we were 2 years ago. So no, I don't think anything changes. Mike commented about how bad those guys want to win. I mean, that's the kind of common through line to this whole thing is we're doing everything we can to give our team the best chance to win. And then when you win, guys typically want to continue to win. So that's our objective, and that's not going to change.
And Mike, just a question for you. Just we've had some good coaches come through. Todd's come through here. You know, Ken Hitchcock was here. Dave Tippett was here, and they all said, we're going to hold the top guys accountable. We're going to hold the top guys accountable. When things went south, you had McDavid and Draisaitl playing on the top line. They all did the same thing. What makes your approach different to those guys who are very good coaches, have held players accountable for? What's going to make it different for you when you say to Leon Draisaitl, park it on the bench for a bad pass, or McDavid, you can only play 1 minute and 15 seconds on the power?
Yeah, you know, those are all real good coaches. I know them all real well, and they would have done their thing here. I wasn't here. I don't know what happened. All I know is the conversations I've had with these gentlemen. I just talked to them again yesterday. They know exactly what's expected, and we're going to make sure that happens. And so we have to do what's ever best for the team on a daily basis. That's what we're going to do. We want the fans of the Oil to be beyond proud. Now, it doesn't matter what I say here. It matters what we do going ahead. And the reality is that's what's going to happen. We're just going to make the team, everybody more inclusive and everyone more important. At the same time, those guys are going to be huge players in it, but they're the ones asking for this. And sometimes when you're 18, you don't think like that. When you want to win a championship, that's how you start thinking.
Hi, Mike. There's obviously a line to be walked here between telling players an uncomfortable truth and being disrespectful and abusive. In the past, it's been argued that you haven't been able to stay on the right side of that line. What's different now? Why are you going to be able to stay there?
Well, I think I've answered this, but I'll answer it again. I think the biggest thing about it is I've said to these guys, I'm going to be as open, as honest with you as I possibly can. I believe in interaction. They're old enough, and I know for a fact I've coached Times for 4 years. He's going to be in my office telling me what he thinks. They're men. They're going to tell you what they think. I think that interaction is important as well. But I also think it's important. I don't know. I know with my wife, sometimes something comes out of my mouth and I wish I could reach and grab the words and pull it back in. Those things are going to happen. You don't want them to happen. They're going to happen. But I think you're allowed to apologize either way and help each other be better. I think the understanding clearly, though, is we're here to help them get what they want. And we all want the same thing.
The stories that have sort of followed you around through your career, have you been doing something wrong, or are you misunderstood? How do you kind of judge yourself as a coach over these years?
Yeah, you know, I'm not a big reader, to be honest. I am a big reader, but not of that. I'm not a big social media guy. And so I can't really tell you. This is what I know, is I have good people in my life that tell me when I'm out of line. That's what these guys are for. That's what stands for. When I'm out of line, they're going to tell me, and I'm going to do something about it.
Okay, last question here to Jim.
Jim Matheson, Post Media. Hello, Mike.
Jim.
couple of things. You keep talking about the players want to win. They told you they want to win. So what has to change the way those players play? I mean, do they have to suddenly start checking as opposed to getting 130 points, or what has to change?
I don't know if you ever heard of this guy named Steve Yzerman. Played in the league for a long, long time. Scored tons and tons and tons of points. And then a gentleman named Scotty Bowman came there. Didn't score quite as many points, but won 3 Stanley Cups. You know, Stevie's a good friend of mine. He'd tell you in a second. He'd rather win the cups. We're not asking him to score less. We're asking him to do things right, to make everyone else on the team important and play in a different, not different than their game, but in a different way in some details of the game. I've walked through this in detail with them. They say they're in.
And you had Datsuk and Zetterberg in Detroit. Does it seem similar having McDavid and Draisaitl here, and how you would handle those 2 players in Detroit, centers, and often they would be playing together on the same line? Do you look at the same sort of situation?
Yeah, I mean, obviously those were elite players that knew how to play without the puck. We had Nick Lidstrom, don't forget about him. And so, you know, we had an unbelievable group, but those guys wanted to win. No one worked harder than Nick Lidstrom or Pavel Datsuk or Z. No one worked harder. No one did it better. No one helped making the players more accountable than those guys. And so that's what these guys have asked. That's what they want. That's what they want to do. They want to have success.
One for Stan. What was the time frame? Because all we heard about was Bruce Cassidy. At what point did you say, forget Bruce Cassidy, they won't give me permission, I'm going in another direction?
We went through that process, like I laid out at the beginning, was talking to coaches. I mean, it wasn't a long list. I mean, you can probably figure out the guys that we wanted to talk to who had an experienced pedigree, and Mike was on that list. And once we started the process with Mike and we had that in-person meeting, it became apparent that he was the guy. He was the right guy for this job.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Thank you very much, gentlemen. We're going to stick around.
A press conference that was much anticipated once we knew Mike Babcock was the individual the Edmonton Oilers wanted to hire. One of the things that I felt might happen is the difficult questions might come a little later. Credit to the Edmonton Oilers. They asked the early on media, Ryan Rishaug, Mark Spector, our own Jason Gregor. They got an opportunity, ask some uncomfortable questions. You may or may not like the answers to those questions. We'll talk about that as the rest of these 2 hours roll along. But that was an interesting thing from my point of view. There was no dodging of questions in terms of allowing everybody to ask them. There were a lot of interesting things mentioned that I think are somewhat new to us. DJ Smith and his role as an associate coach, I mentioned before, the media avail is an important one. The conversation with the leadership group was also, I think, germane to the situation, but also something that fans would want to hear about how frank it was both ways. And overall, I think that most fans will walk away fairly pleased with how things went, and I'm sure the Oilers are as well. We are a little bit backed up in terms of how the show runs, so we're going to take a break. Afterwards, the 3 young gentlemen who join me each day or each Tuesday are going to tell us how they feel, and we're going to go through our Coles notes and give you an idea about how it went and what your expectations may be in terms of altered to before the media veil and how you might feel about it now. We'll do that. This is the Lowdown with Lowetide, brought to you by Wolf GMC Buick.
When your project can't afford downtime, call Japa Equipment Rentals. From excavators and wheel loaders to compaction equipment, Japa has the machines you need. Trusted since 1972. Visit japaequipment.com or stop our Edmonton or Calgary locations.
Getting your vehicle sparkling clean doesn't have to cost a fortune. Take it into Hughes today and pay just loonies a wash.
Find us at HughesCarWash.com.
Looking for a truck that can handle anything Alberta throws your way? Wolf GMC Buick has the offers to get you behind the wheel. Get 0% financing for up to 72 months on select new 2026 GMC Sierra 1500 models. Plus, trade in an eligible 2015 or newer pickup and receive a $1,000 truck trade-in bonus on select Sierra models. Ask about bonus offers for heroes, students, recent graduates, and more. Visit wolfgmcbuick.com.
Whether you're a craft beer connoisseur or more of a wine aficionado, there's always something new to discover at Sherbrooke Liquor, a unique, family-owned, independent liquor store. The selection? Incredible. The non-alcohol section is also very impressive. Sherbrooke Liquor, expert, knowledgeable staff with a passion for unique finds. More than just a liquor store, we're a community. Alberta's best, the one and only Sherbrooke Liquor. Wine, spirits, and oodles of beer. Visit SherbrookeLiquor.com.
The Riverhawks return this weekend for First Responders Firework Friday. Enjoy Country Nights Mechanical Bull on Saturday with Daisy's Saloon. Then Boston Pizza presents Baseballs and Body Slams on Sunday with a real wrestling ring. Fun for the whole family. Tickets at GoHawks.ca.
When it comes to sports in Edmonton, Jason Krueger is a must-listen. He brings you the inside scoop with guests from across North America. If it matters in sports, you'll hear it here first. Krueger rolls out weekdays from 2 to 6 on Sports 1440.
Come for Canada's largest trade shows, the biggest names in entertainment, exhilarating sporting events, and more. And stay for the experience at the Edmonton Expo Centre. Looking for the perfect place to host your next big event? From trade shows to galas, meetings, and concerts, the Edmonton Expo Centre has the space, event expertise, and service to make your next event unforgettable. With over 522,000 square feet of flexible event space, in-house catering, and operational expertise, they bring your biggest vision to life. Learn more at EdmontonExpoCenter.com today.
With Play Alberta, backing the home team goes beyond the bets. That's because your picks have provincial impact. Play Alberta is the only app in the province that puts all revenue directly back into supporting programs and services that Albertans rely on every day. By investing in the General Revenue Fund, every play, bet, and buy made on Play Alberta helps make a difference across the province. Visit playalberta.ca/Gregor to learn more. That's playalberta.ca/Gregor. Must be 18 plus to play. If you gamble, use your game sense.
Do you have neck or back pain? Ever go for treatment hoping for a simple fix only to realize your stubborn spine is basically a science project with attitude? Hey, we get it. And honestly, we're a little sorry because great rehab does take proper experimenting. But at Leading Edge Physiotherapy, we don't just toss exercises into the beaker and hope it doesn't explode. We start with the right diagnosis, then mix hands-on care, precise manual therapy, and evidence-based technology. The formula your body actually needs. Science and skill with gratitude, not attitude. LeadingEdgePhysio.com.
With Mortgages to Go, you'll be good to go. Mortgagestogo.ca says yes when the banks say no. That's why Alberta has trusted Mortgages to Go for over 23 years. If you need cash and have equity in your home, you're approved instantly, guaranteed. Call 1-888-888-5998. That's 1-888-888-5998. With Mortgages to Go, you'll say,
Attention Alberta construction pros. For over 50 years, Japa Equipment Rentals has been your go-to for top-notch equipment and stellar service. Whether you need rentals or expert maintenance, we've got you covered. Stop by our Edmonton or Calgary locations today.
Here's the Lowdown with Lowetide on Sports 1440.
Presented by Wolf GMC Buick. We're making it easy. WolfGMCBuick.com.
This is the Lowdown on Sports 1440. We're brought to you by Wolf GMC Buick. Get 0% financing up to 72 months on select new 2026 Sierra 1500 models, visit wolfgmcbuick.com. Just jig the entire room. It's Alan Mitchell, Lowetide, Declan Krueger. We have Donovan Paulson, and we have Josh Fenwick as well. I'm going to do a brief rundown of what happened very quickly, and then I'm going to ask each of these gentlemen to give their opinion. Stan Bowman talked early about attributes they wanted, a coach with some experience, a winning pedigree. Talked about his familiarity with Mike Babcock. They had a 3.5-hour meeting, a long talk that Babcock, as I'm sure you are now, Bowman was very impressed with Babcock. And then Babcock said, I want to talk to some of the players, the leadership group. They reached out to the NHL after that meeting with the players, which went very well. It was a very frank conversation. And, of course, now they have moved forward with Mike Babcock. Babcock said that today reminded of 2002 when he joined the Anaheim Ducks and the NHL. He said he was grateful. Obviously, something that he values highly. Despite the fact that he enjoyed retirement, he felt the Oilers were worth it. He had a conversation with 97-29 and Zach Hyman, and he felt that was key. He detailed to them changes needed to win. The players were all in. And then the get-together with the ownership group occurred. I mentioned before the break that I was very impressed that Ryan Rishaug, Mark Spector, and Jason Gregor were three of the early questionnaires, and I thought their questions were very focused and pointed. And I thought that Mike Babcock, without trying to be funny about it, he handled those questions very well. And I'm sure some felt like he deflected a little bit, but I think that most fans will walk away being very satisfied with Mike Babcock as a communicator. And he did say he was very frank, and I think that this is going to play out over a year. One thing that I feel as though is worth mentioning is that DJ Smith, as the associate coach, may, as time goes on, have a larger role in this organization. It sounds like he was brought in for dollars that one would associate with something beyond an associate coach. Jason Gregor just tweeted out a few minutes ago that DJ Smith will run the defensive core. He doesn't expect Paul Coffey back on the bench, although Coffey will remain in the organization, and that Paul McFarland will remain and oversee the power play, and Peter Aubry will stay on as goalie coach. So there's your staff. Fascinating. The NHL went and busted a move to Austin or to Houston while we were listening to that. We'll talk about that, but I want to go around the room and get people's feelings about it, because I think that was it was high theater. It was wildly entertaining. And Mike Babcock is a smooth communicator. I think we can all agree on that. But Declan, beyond those things, what was your takeaway from Mike Babcock's initial media avail with the Edmonton media?
Well, listen, he is the smoothest criminal since Michael Jackson. Like, he has this thing where he has the ability to say 1,000 words and yet say nothing at all. And then finally, at the end of the media avail, his personality started to come out a little bit. And you could see some of those maybe dickish qualities we've talked about. And you saw him getting a little frustrated with things. Like, he answered every question the way someone in his position is supposed to answer. And I give the Edmonton Oilers, and I give Ryan Rishaug, Mark Spector, and Jason Gregor a lot of credit, because they came out with their fastballs and they were painting the corner a little bit, and he was still kind of dodging the questions, like wasn't really answering it, doing that thing where he gives a very political answer, doesn't say much. Like, I don't think we didn't really get an answer. I think it's more or less what we expected from Mike Babcock, maybe not in terms of the press conference as a whole. Listen, he's here now. It is what it is. We move on. That was that.
Donovan.
Well, excuse me. Here were my initial thoughts on how he came across. I thought, I'll give you Stan Bowman. I felt he had a good quality press conference, and I felt like he actually said some of the stuff that needed to be said. I was impressed with his press conference. As for Mike Babcock's, excuse me, I felt like I was listening to Donald Trump, except a smart Donald Trump, in the sense of this is a guy who answered nothing at all. There was a generational in dodging questions. He took the questions. Oh, that's a great question. And in reality, all that's going through his mind is, how can I possibly deflect literally everything that's coming my way? And I think in terms of the hard questions, he didn't answer any of them. He just came across as a guy who was a coward he didn't answer anything. He just deflected the whole time. It was a Donald Trump press conference if Donald Trump was smart.
What I'm seeing is you're saying Mike Babcock has a future in politics.
If Mike Babcock wanted to be a politician, he absolutely could be, because that was generational.
I think most people went in with the expectation that it would be some of the questions that were asked. I believe that I'll give the Oilers credit. They led with that, and it was it got it out in the open, and Babcock did handle it well. I think that what we hadn't heard previous to this was any kind of recognition of things that sorrow.
No.
Because redemption comes and forgiveness comes when you approach the individual and you are sad and genuinely and you ask for forgiveness. I did not hear that.
No, there was, in his mind, he did nothing wrong. That was what came through on that. It was arrogant, it was coward, and it was a guy who did nothing wrong in his mind.
Do you think that, and I'm just asking this, I'm not trying to put words in anybody's mouth, but do you think that the hiring of DJ Smith is a little bit of hedging by the organization, i.e. Stan Bowman?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
DJ Smith is the, if you've listened to how he's got summarized in the past, he's the good cop, right? DJ Smith is a guy who, if you ask anybody who's ever played for him, he is a guy that everybody likes. DJ Smith is, but he's also a good coach. I really like the DJ Smith
Great
hiring.
suppression coach.
I think DJ Smith's an excellent coach. That's a great pairing because he is the good cop. And I think DJ Smith will earn a lot of respect from Oilers fans. As for the whole, I mean, if you're an Oilers fan and you came out of this one thinking, oh, those are some great answers by Babcock, I actually don't know what you were listening to, because that was exactly what I expected.
It was a lot of deflection, no doubt about it. Josh.
I didn't come away entirely impressed. I agree with Donovan that yes, Stan Bowman had a very good press conference, all things considered. I was surprised that all the questions were in fact directed towards Babcock mostly. Like, obviously it's his media avail, but I was interested in the fact that nobody asked a question about the entirety of the month from the Edmonton Oilers post Chris Knobloch firing, except for was he your next call after you realized you weren't getting Bruce Cassidy? That was the only mention of that, really.
Right.
But I also agree with Declan. At the end of the press conference, you could really tell that like Babcock was getting frustrated.
Just about the time they said only a couple more questions. Right?
Yes.
He was starting to, he was feeling it.
Yeah. It was, and so I imagine throughout the entirety of the season, it will keep getting pressed like that. Like, I don't think they're going to really let up, because he said, yeah, I'm going to coach all these guys hard. That was the thing through the entirety of the press conference. So I think I'm expecting that most media members like Rashad, Gregor, and Speck will hold him to that. And he doesn't have a lot of easy media avails coming.
Yeah. The idea that he's harder on the stars, the only issue with that is that there is a past, and the past is that it is the younger players. It is what Gregor said.
Yeah.
So that end up being vulnerable, right? So there's the problem in life is you do develop a past, and Mike Babcock has, and he did not address the rest of the roster issues that he's had over the years. We'll talk about this as the day rolls along, and of course Gregor will be on at 2:00 today to give you more of his impressions. On the way, coming up next hour, we've got a very busy one at 1:00. We're going to be in conversation with Zack Lang from Oilers Nation. At 1:20, we have rumors coming up, lots going on, including the NHL expanding to Texas, and of course Declinations at 1:40 today. I'm assuming we're going to talk Miami Heat. Is that around where you want to talk?
Well, yeah, Heat check ice bath so we can get everyone involved.
Right.
It's a big
Okay.
panel today, but sneaking suspicion, I know what my Heat check is.
All right. Okay. Sounds good. This is the Lowdown with Lowetide on Sports 1440, brought to you by Wolf GMC Buick. It's time for an update with Declan Krueger.
This is a Sports 1440 update.
Brought to you by Elks Nation. For the best Elks coverage year-round with podcasts and articles, go to elksnation.ca. Player interviews, game analysis, and more. The best green and gold coverage online. It's elksnation.ca. Edmonton Oilers, of course, officially naming Mike Babcock their head coach. As you just heard on the presser review, DJ Smith part of the staff. In the World Cup right now, Portugal leading Uzbekistan 5-0 in the 94th minute. 5 minutes of extra time total in that one before Portugal will get credited with their first victory of the World Cup. England and Ghana at 2, Panama, Croatia at 5, and Colombia and the Democratic Republic of Congo at 8. In the MLB, the action will get going at 2:07 between the Astros and the Jays. Bieber on the mound for the Jays while they play host to the Astros. And then at 4:40, we're going to have the Royals and the Rays, as well as the Yankees and Tigers. In the late game in the league tonight, we'll see the Athletics and Giants. I'm Declan Krueger. This has been a Sports 1440 update.
Sports 1440, Stingray radio station. CKJR broadcasts from West Edmonton Mall and Wetaskiwin.
Download the free Stingray music app and listen wherever you go.
Craving a dining experience that rises above the rest? Head to Summit Restaurant in the Silent Ice Center, just minutes from South Edmonton Common. Savor exceptional house-made pizza, delectable entrees, and expertly crafted cocktails in a stylish, modern atmosphere. Perfect for a casual meal or a special night out. Summit offers a refined experience where every bite and sip reflects our dedication to quality. Elevate your dining experience. Make Summit Restaurant your destination tonight.
Need a new ride for road trips, errands, or just life on the go? Go Auto offers a massive selection with over 15,000 new and used vehicles to choose from. With over 70 locations across Western Canada, finding your next ride has never been easier. Whether it's a roomy SUV for the family, a sleek car for the open road, or a rugged truck for your weekend adventures, you'll find it here at a price you'll love. Explore thousands of vehicles today at goauto.ca.
Your all-access pass to the world of sports is Edmonton's only sports radio station.
From pre- and post-game hockey shows to in-depth analysis from your favorite commentators, the action never stops on Sports 1440.
At Fountain Tire, success is a team effort. They're committed to their team members and their customers. And that means treating your vehicle like it's their own and finding solutions that suit your needs. Because whatever the road brings ahead, they're on it with you. Visit fountaintire.com today.
You've got better things to do than wait for an oil change. Jiffy Lube gets you in and out fast. No appointment necessary. All you have to do is roll into a location near you, and we'll take care of the rest. Every full synthetic oil change at Jiffy Lube is warranty approved and comes with a 20-point visual inspection, making sure you get back on the road safely. Find your neighborhood Jiffy Lube today. Visit jiffylubeservice.ca.
Wendy's 99-cent Frosty is back, and Frosty farmers couldn't be happier. Made with Canadian dairy, they grow up cool, creamy, and mighty thick. It's farm to Frosty. Get a small 99-cent Frosty until August 2nd at participating Wendy's. Texas Extra.
The Lowdown with Lowetide on Sports 1440. Can you fit Sports Encyclopedia on a business card?
Presented by Wolf GMC Buick. We're making it easy. WolfGMCBuick.com.
5-0 Portugal. If Paul Almeida calls, don't answer the phone. This is the Lowdown on Sports 1440. Into hour number 2 of the show for Wolf GMC Buick. Created an eligible pickup and receive a $1,000 truck trade-in bonus on select Sierra models. Visit wolfgmcbuick.com. Busy hour. We have rumors at 1:20, declinations at 1:40, and we are now joined by Zack Lang from Oilers Nation as our headliner of the day, brought to you by Faber. Debt holding you back? Let Faber's licensed insolvency trustee help you tackle your debt. Book your free consultation at faber.ca or call 1-877-944-1177. That's 1-877-944-1177. We are now joined by Zack Lang, Oilers Nation. How are you, sir?
LT, I'm doing good today. What an interesting day in oil country, hey?
Right. So let's start with the media avail. I'll just give you my thumbnail. I thought that I'll give the Oilers credit. They let the difficult questions roll out early from Rashog, Spector, and Jason Gregor. And I think the questions were hard hitting. I think Mike Babcock did an excellent job in not answering them fully and deflecting them and moving on. But we'll see how everybody feels. What was your take?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of legendary Edmonton Oilers related press conferences, I think this one goes up there with the Kevin Lowe 2 tiers of Oilers fans and the Craig McTavish visually better one from so many years ago. Fascinating all around. Mike Babcock clearly, no regrets from the things that have happened in his past. He didn't seem to have any apologies for any of the things that have happened along the way in his career. Not that I was necessarily expecting that to come today or anything like that, but I think when you look at it from a hockey perspective objectively and, what we could see from the on-ice product, he said all of the right things. I mean, for years, the Edmonton Oilers have been trying to find a way as an organization through so many coaches to limit the roles and the minutes of McDavid and Draisaitl, to find proper roles for depth players on the team and be able to get a complete buy-in in that sense of the term. It's one thing to say it in a press conference here on June 23rd. It'll be another thing when, the Oilers hit the ice, for training camp and for regular season games in September and October. So it's going to be fascinating to see what happens out of this. But yeah, that was a very, very interesting press conference.
Yeah, and I think that the organization is betting that wins will come here, and the Oilers. There are lots of things that can be done to improve this team, even with the roster they have. I think the roster will look a little different in the fall, but the suppression of opposition chances is key, and the Oilers can sometimes pay attention to that for like long periods of time, like 10 games even. Their last 11 games or so of the season were solid, but they lose the script, and that does suggest that more attention to detail and things like playing time will have an major impact on players, or could have. So those things are in the bag, obviously, of Mike Babcock, and may come out during the season and can benefit the team's bottom line and goal scoring. I was interested in his take on playing time. I remember when Todd McLellan was the coach. Early on, the Oilers were having trouble, and he said, look, they're a fine team. They're just playing McDavid too much. I think that will be a part of it. I was hoping somebody would ask about them two playing together, McDavid and Draisaitl. I don't know that we got there. But what's your take on how Babcock might deploy the twin elite centers in McDavid and Draisaitl? Do you think we'll see them apart more or less often than they were with Chris Knobloch?
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see them apart more. I think it's something that the Edmonton Oilers need. There's always going to be times where they're going to play together. They're going to get the minutes on the top power play unit. They're going to get minutes, coming off of an Oilers penalty kill when the Oilers will throw them out there to try and get some more momentum, or at least that's what's happened in years past. It'll be curious to see what the total number is for their 5-on-5 ice time together. Because, what was one of the biggest issues under Knobloch was it just felt like as soon as something wasn't going right, in that game on any given night, whether it was October, January, or June, when the Oilers were playing a game, it was just, okay, we'll throw McDavid and Draisaitl out there. And then it threw the rest of the Oilers lineup into a bit of a frenzy. The bottom six would get jumbled up, the middle six would get jumbled up, and all of a sudden the guys that were out there not named McDavid and Draisaitl are trying to find some chemistry on the fly here. So I think, just hearing the talk about finding roles for depth players and having that being a more important thing, that was something Stan Bowman had mentioned as well when he spoke, saying that, if you come here, you're going to have opportunity to play. it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. But I do think that, splitting them up is going to be the way to go here. And then the Oilers can kind of see where they want to go from there. Zach Hyman, Matt Savoy on the top line, I could see that sticking from, this last spring here. Leon Draisaitl and Podkolzin, we've known that they've worked together extremely well in the last number of years. I think that other spot on the wing is going to be something the Oilers have to address, whether it's through free agency or a trade. And then I'll be curious to see what the depth of this roster looks like and how many new depth pieces do end up coming in here over the next, let's call it 2 weeks.
Yeah, for me, Babcock and certainly Smith are up the middle coaches. The centers need to be strong two-way players. The defense has to be able to, cover well and recover well. And the goaltender has to be top drawer. At least that's how he won. He had an elite Nick Lidstrom. He had a fantastic group of forwards in Detroit. And his goaltending with Osgood and Hasek was outstanding as well. So when we apply that to the forwards, Nuge is a really good two-way player. Leon has, I think, the more skills in the two-way department than he's been asked to give. I think there's more there. But on the defensive side, Jake Wallman is a guy who's hurt a lot and it took him a while to get into playing shape when he came back from injury. And Evan Bouchard is a player who does make some defensive errors. I'll be interested in seeing, two things. Number one, how he handles a player like Bouchard, who's highly creative but does make mistakes. And then number two, for players who are, either before the season or preseason or in season who are not up to game playing shape, will he play those players like the Oilers have, or will those players be sent to the press box until they're ready?
There's a lot of things like that, these small things that there's great questions about. Wallman, he's going to be a really important piece of this team here, with the Oilers likely trading Darnell Nurse at some point, ahead of the NHL draft here and before free agency, as they appear eager to do, abiding by his trade request. So Wallman is going to have to find a way, A, to stay healthy, and B, to be a contributor for this team, because I think he's the natural fit to fill in on that second side left shot spot where, Nurse has held down for the last number of years here. Bouchard, it's a great point. Like, how does he handle that, right? No coach has really been willing to limit the minutes of Evan Bouchard because of how much he provides offensively for this team, for better or for worse. I really do think that Evan Bouchard really improved his overall play last season, especially in the defensive zone. I felt by the end of last season, he was a much more sound defensive player than he's been in years past, So it's going to be really interesting. And again, too, how does he handle McDavid and Draisaitl? They're two guys who we know can play a two-way style of game. We've seen Leon Draisaitl be, a bull in the defensive zone. We've seen Connor McDavid, coming back. But it really feels like there's going to have to be a deeper commitment from these guys in the defensive zone before they can kind of get moving up the ice. Here at the Oilers Nation office, we were listening to some old Babcock press conferences and one from when he got introduced in Toronto. And he talked about the defensive zone being the work zone, the neutral zone being the speed zone, and the offensive zone being the fun zone. And it really feels like that kind of mantra is going to be coming here to the Edmonton Oilers next fall.
I don't know who did the Oilers Nation media wrap on the press conference with Mike Babcock, but the quote that hung in the air for me, and they grabbed it, and I appreciate that. It was Babcock on the conversations he had with 97, 29, and 18, the leadership group. He said, unless you're 100% all in on Mike Babcock, I have no interest in coming in and being the coach. The ripples of that can be, magnified when things go wrong. When things go well, people have a tendency to just keep on rolling. But do you think that there's any part of the Edmonton Oilers organization, Stan Bowman, ownership, whatever, that maybe felt like bringing in DJ Smith, that what we understand was a significant, dollar amount, might have been just a little bit of insurance against how this could go, sideways during the year?
It's a great point. DJ Smith has head coaching experience, right? He was in Ottawa unsuccessfully for 4 years there, a little bit of a stint with the LA Kings down the stretch run of this season. But I do think that's a really good point. And, as it stands right now, at, 1:15 this afternoon, as far as I know, I haven't seen anything about any kind of terms on what Mike Babcock's contract looks like. And that's also something that I'm really interested about too. Is this a shorter term deal? Is this a 1-year deal where they maybe try to go for a sprint? With Babcock, is it 2 years, 3 years, or even longer? I'm not sure. But, I do think that DJ Smith angle is a really fascinating one that you bring up there. He's got the head coaching experience. He's a guy who knows the Western Conference from his time with the LA Kings over the last number of years. And I think he's going to be a really valuable addition because he's gone up against McDavid and Draisaitl as a coach, at least for years now here in this Western Conference. So I think that's really going to play to the benefit of this Oilers team, and especially having that perspective of somebody who's coached against these guys for a number of years now.
Zack Lang, our guest, Oilers Nation, Sports 1440, Lowdown with Lowetide, also on YouTube. How many articles in a year do you write, in your estimate, about the Edmonton Oilers?
Boy, last year I probably averaged around 60 a month for the entire year last year. Now that I've taken over as a managing editor, that number's about halved. But yeah, it's quite frequently. So
then I'm going to ask you this question because I write about the Oilers a lot, and not at Oilers Nation, but I write at other places. And I think about the Oilers about as often as I think about having a cup of coffee, which is a lot. So one of the things I do, I make a list and I write down, what would this be an article? Would this be interesting? One of the first ones I wrote down was Lowetide. Who would be the Edmonton Oilers prospect or player most likely to emerge as the Zach Hyman of the Edmonton Oilers? As you remember, Hyman was a young player with the Toronto Maple Leafs, played for the Marlies, and then got called up to the Maple Leafs and thrived under Mike Babcock. And so I did pick a name. I haven't written the article, but I did pick a name. But I'm just so fascinated because I know you are in the same, brain part a lot with the Edmonton Oilers. So if you had to pick a guy who would be the Hyman possibly for this team moving forward, who would it be?
Man, that is a tremendous question. I think for me, I would go with Quinn Hudson. I think he's a guy who could emerge in that sense. He's got some offensive upside to his game, but, one of the big things that we've heard about him is being a really solid two-way player. A harder nosed can play that style of game, get in on the forecheck. I think Hudson is the guy that kind of could fit that bill. Now, I don't know if he's going to go on to have the 50 goal scoring success that, Zach Hyman has, but kind of similar career paths for both guys, coming up through the college ranks and having to kind of find a way to grind to get into the professional game.
Last question for you, but I could talk to you all day. I feel a kindred spirit with you. So I've observed a lot of NHL lead-ups to draft day, like many of them, dozens, over many years. I feel the rumblings of the possibilities of trades and the trades we've already had. This could be like a nuclear trade, draft, free agency, offer sheet summer, and we might just be on the edge of it. Do you agree?
Oh, 100%. I mean, the things that are floating around out there, the Brady Tkachuk trade was massive. That's going to have a huge ripple effect because of Ottawa now getting in the mix with this, loot of draft picks that they got. Jason Robertson makes a ton of sense for them, whether it's through an offer sheet or through, trying to make a trade with the Dallas Stars there. There were Zach Werenski rumors that are flying around right now. That's fascinating. Connor Hellebuck and the Winnipeg Jets. I mean, some of the names that we're hearing out there are really interesting. And, as is always the case, you hear about the names that are out there, but there's always names that are going on behind the scenes that you never hear about. How many of those are floating around here right now as well? I think this is a really interesting offseason for the NHL as a whole, especially with the salary cap skyrocketing the way that it is. You've got a number of teams that have to spend, upwards of $15 million just to get to the salary cap floor here, and still be a ways off of the ceiling of $104 million for this next year. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. And I think from an Edmonton Oilers perspective, they need to find a way to get into the mix here. I would really like to see them try and take some swings here at drastically improving this team, because as far as I'm concerned right now, it's going to be an arms race across the entire NHL with these top echelon teams trying to improve in significant ways.
Yeah, it really is. It is wild times, no doubt about that. All right. Thanks for this. We really appreciate your time. We'll talk to you next week. I'm sure there'll be something crazy to talk about then, too.
Never a dull moment with these Edmonton Oilers.
All right. This is very true. All right. So there you go. We have Bag Milk and what has been a fascinating day already. Gregor will come up at 2:00. We have Declinations coming up at 1:40. And straight ahead, it's rumors, NHL expansion, obviously the Babcock Media Avail, and more straight ahead. Lowdown with Lowetide on Sports 1440 and YouTube.
Cattail Crossing Golf and Winter Club. Fun and friendly with morning rates Monday to Thursday. Just $65 for 18 holes with cart. $55 for seniors. Includes a $5 food voucher for dining at Cattail's Out of Bounds restaurant. There's early bird golf Saturday and Sunday. $50 for 9 holes with cart and snack voucher. 9 and dine Fridays after 4. $130 per pair for 9 holes, cart, and a $40 Out of Bounds gift card. Plus, Glow Golf every second Friday and bring your dog golfing on Mondays. Visit cattailcrossing.ca.
Start your day with a blast of sports. Kevin Carius, along with Brandon Douglas, brings the fire, the fun, and the fearless takes. Weekdays, 7 to 11. Text Kevin, 883-401-1440. Mornings with Sports 1440.
Are new McCafe crafted sodas just drinks or something more? Like Sprite Berry Bliss, Creamy Strawberry Coke, and Orange Dream. All swirled with fizzy flavor and topped with silky cold foam. Only at McDonald's. At participating McDonald's restaurants in Canada.
Think a quality golf cart is out of your budget? Think again. At the Golf Cart People, we have a fantastic selection of fully inspected, pre-owned carts starting at just $4,500. Choose from gas, electric, or lithium-ion power to fit your lifestyle. And the best part, every used cart comes with a 1-year warranty for total peace of mind. Why wait? Get the cart you've always wanted today. Visit the Golf Cart People. Find out more at golfcartpeople.com.
Mr. Rooter buries evidence in the desert.
I didn't mean to do it. I was forced into it. Yeah, forced. But now, no one will ever know. You've done well, Mr. Rooter. You did something awful, but you've covered your tracks. It's done. The last transcript that shows I did a semester of nutrition school.
Uncover evidence of the proudest plumber, Mr. Rooter.
Nissan breaking through the defense. Look at the control. What a move. What a finish. Kicks has done it again.
Nissan Kicks is the 2026 Best Buy winner from Consumer Guide Automotive for 5 years in a row. The Score with Nissan event is on, and you can score by financing a 2026 Nissan Kicks S for 0% for 36 months, or get up to $3,000 cash purchase bonus on other Kicks models. Conditions apply. Visit Nissan.ca for details.
Visit your local Edmonton and area Nissan dealer for more information.
Looking for mental health or addiction support, but not sure where to start? Contact 211. 211 Alberta can help you navigate treatment and recovery options, counseling, crisis services, and more. And because life's challenges are often connected, they can also help you find food, housing, and employment support. It's free, confidential, available 24/7, and offered in more than 240 languages by phone. 211 Alberta. One number, countless connections.
A message from the Government of Alberta.
Bashaw Concrete Products. From concrete and septic tanks to blocks, precast water pads, Jersey barriers and aggregates. Farmers, contractors, homeowners. Plan your next project at BashawConcrete.com. Family owned. Over 60 years pouring. Bashaw Concrete Products. Once again, start here. BashawConcrete.com.
Hey there, it's Brandon Douglas from Sports 1440. I was tired of slow, unreliable internet connections, so I signed up for Starlink. It's fast, reliable even in bad weather, and has made streaming for movie nights and online gaming so much better. The summer doesn't mean a break from watching sports, and I've been streaming all the games seamlessly when at the family farm, despite the remote location. If you're ready for a better internet experience, you can order online in 2 minutes at starlink.com/radio or call 1-888-GO-STARLINK.
You need the lowdown? It's with Lowetide right now on Sports 1440.
Presented by Wolf GMC Buick. We're making it easy. WolfGMCBuick.com.
It's 1:20. This is the Lowdown, brought to you by Wolf GMC Buick. Ask about bonus offers for hero students, recent graduates, and more. WolfGMCBuick.com. A beautiful day. I took the dog out early. I knew it wasn't Saturday because it was gorgeous. And it's a very, very, very nice afternoon. It is time for Rumors, brought to you by Harley-Davidson of Edmonton. It's riding season. Harley-Davidson of Edmonton has your next bike waiting for you. Huge selection of new and pre-owned, plus test rides available, locally owned and operated since 1980 on the Yellowhead Trail or at hdedmonton.com. All right, we're parsing the media avail that we just saw. It was a combination of wild and then smooth. Mike Babcock did a tremendous job of deflecting. I thought the media did a very good job of asking pointed questions, and you are left to draw your own conclusions. One of the things that I found interesting was Mike Babcock saying he didn't think he crossed the line in Columbus. He said it was very evident before the year started. I hadn't benched anybody. I hadn't talked to anybody. I hadn't sat anybody out, and it was evident that we weren't together as a staff right from the get-go. And so with that, I think that it kind of frames what people might have been looking for and what they got, and there is a gap. And we'll talk about it at length. But I think as I ponder more and more after the media avail, I'm reminded of the period of time that the Edmonton Oilers hired Pat Quinn. It was after the period that Craig McTavish left the organization, officially fired, but I really feel he just decided it was too long at the fair. And they hired Pat Quinn, and they brought in Tom Rennie as the, associate coach. And I think we are, as we saw today with the presentation by the Edmonton Oilers organization, I think we are seeing the new coach, and I think we may be seeing the next coach. And there's reason behind my reasoning, and it goes like this. When Babcock was asked about, sensitive things that occur, he sort of, in so many words, he said, the guardrails are, Stan Bowman, the players, ownership. We all had the talk that, if I say something out of line, got to come to me and I'll address that. To me, that's one of the reasons that DJ Smith would be there. And it does remind me very much of Pat Quinn and Tom Rennie. And the only other time the Oilers had an associate coach who was as prominent was John Muckler. And you may recall, if you're old enough like me, Muckler was the guy who held the day-to-day practices. He was the X's and O's guy. He was the special teams guy. He did a lot of behind-the-scenes work as Glenn Sather was doing the general manager work during the daytime. And then at night, Glenn would come and coach the team. So I think that today's media avail was a revelation in that way, because I didn't perceive it to be that way, in the same way as Quinn with Rennie and Sather with Muckler. I think that the Edmonton Oilers have gone out and hired Babcock with a guardrail, and we'll see how this rolls out. But that's my take on the situation. As I took a bathroom break, I pondered, I came back, and that's my call. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, you can view DJ Smith as, I guess, the safety net as well, right? I think that's one point that we can,
and definitely a Gulletson type, right? Even with even if things go smoothly for the next 5 years.
Yes, I think I look at DJ Smith and I say, anytime you're getting a head coach and he's going to be your associate coach, right? Like, there's a reason he's getting head coaching type of money, because he is a head coach. He has been really since 2019-20. He's been in and out of full-time head coaching. But I mean, you can look at the record as a head coach and say it's not amazing, but you're getting guardrails in place to try and keep Mike Babcock under control. And that was really evident, I think, in what Stan Bowman said.
Donovan, Declan, you said something earlier, and I heard it, and then I pondered it, and I thought about it when I was in the washroom. No, it was you were just talked about Babcock at the end, kind of getting a little bit frustrated, and then they ended the press conference, and I like. You said, I don't remember what you said, Declan, but you said something along the lines, if he's like that now, it's not going to get any easier as the season goes by, and if they have a hard time, like I feel like the Edmonton Oilers might have viewed this today as the end of the, let's get it out there, let's move on, and then it'll be done. But I think it's just the beginning, right? Because this story doesn't go away.
Well, first of all, I think that was Josh's elaboration on it, because I had made the point.
It was my elaboration when we were in the break, but you were the one that vocalized it initially.
So then I was right.
I think you were wrong. I
no,
think it was Josh.
You were technically correct in who said it first on air.
That I heard.
Yes.
Yeah, because I wouldn't have been listening to what you said. Yeah.
Yeah, like I made the initial point that he just seemed like he started getting a little, you guys have all seen the videos where he's the impersonator of Babs is out there, where he's like, well, as I said, Brooksy, and he's really getting after, like that was him a little bit at the end. But yeah, like I don't know. How much were we really going to take from this? Right? Like,
well, I think it was an opportunity for him to look, folks, there's a thing in life. I worked for almost 50 years in this business, and I learned early on, when you do something wrong, then what you do is you say, I'm sorry, and you ask for forgiveness, and automatically, in my experience, that has been given. And then there's the follow-up, don't do that again. And it's the same as like with your dad. We did not get that today. There was no sense of, I feel repentant. It sounded like everybody that has ever said anything is wrong. I don't recall it that way. And that's really not what I thought people wanted to hear. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe people are happy about this, but it felt like this was a continuation of what Mike Babcock has been as an NHL coach, and he really hasn't changed. And the line about, if you're not 100% in on Mike Babcock, I'm not interested, suggests that is exactly what the case is. Now, the Calgary Flames made a trade. It's a really good trade. That's something to be really upset about. Who wants to give the actual details of the trade?
Dibs.
Go for it, Josh. It's your team, buddy.
It is my team. Okay, so the Flames have traded for Simon Nemec. And hold on, Donovan, how did you say this guy's name? Because I definitely...
Siplikov?
Maxim
Siplikov.
Oh, good. Yeah.
From the New Jersey Devils for the New York Rangers second-round pick this year, the Vegas Golden Knights first round in 2027, and Colorado's first round pick in 2028, both of which are top 10 protected, and Etienne Morin, who is a prospect in the Flames pool, who, just so you guys know, the Flames prospect pool is very nice.
Well, here's why I love it. Look, there's risk with Nemec, but if this guy hits, and Calgary is really good with defensemen, if he hits, you'll regret the Flames acquiring him, if you're an Oilers fan.
Simon Nemec, I don't think it's if he hits. It's what ceiling does he hit. He's already top four defenseman.
Yeah, I think he's
already a hit.
Yeah, I know, but he's not where he needs to be.
He was a second round. He was a second overall pick.
Yeah, he's not where he needs to be like the key player on a championship team. But he could be.
No, he's a top four defenseman on every team in the league.
He is not where he needs to be to be a championship
peak
defenseman.
yet.
Yeah, exactly. But he's got all the tools.
But he's also 22.
All the tools.
Like, Simon Nemec to me is a player who I could very realistically see being a number 2 defenseman. I don't think he'll ever be a 1.
But the other thing is that he comes from, and this is something we can't, underestimate. He comes from an organization that didn't seem to have its act together.
No, not at all.
So it's an opportunity.
And didn't put him in enough situations to succeed. If you looked at their right side, and even a guy like Seamus Casey, who really highly touted defensive prospect, that guy, I mean, I don't know what they're doing with him. I don't know what the plan is. They've been kind of lollygagging around with a lot of these guys, and that's part of the reason why you saw the Nemec trade, is because they were lollygagging him. They were kind of, even had times where he sat last year, despite the fact that he played 20 minutes the night before. Just weird development path. So I fully expect him to go to Calgary. He's going to be their number one defenseman next year. I would almost bet my life savings on that.
Boy, they've got some good young defensemen.
They've got that right side. I love that right side. Nemec, Perrick, and you've got White Cloud on the third pair. I love White Cloud on the third pair. Perrick's going to have to do a little bit of developing, obviously, but really young guy. That's a great right side for the future. But the left side, that's a little ugly.
Yeah,
it's a little.
Yeah,
Kevin Ball's their top left defenseman.
To be polite, it's a little ugly.
The NHL is expanding, apparently to somewhere in
Austin,
Texas or Houston. Dallas is going to have a friend.
Yeah, and Dallas is actually they're moving too. I mean, obviously it's still the Dallas Stars, but they're moving location to Plano, I believe it is.
I can't let this show go any farther without mentioning the big Miami Heat trade.
Houston and Austin. My apologies.
So I mentioned that. We can talk about it if you like, but I gotta let Declan just vent a little bit. I know you're going to talk about it in Declinations, but here's my question to you: they gave up a lot, but they got like a guy you don't get every day. This is like the Mets getting Gary Carter. This is a real guy. How important is it for you as a Heat fan to have this player? And do you think you can turn it into more than just a playoff appearance?
Yeah, first of all, it's huge. And I'll talk more about it, especially tomorrow on Duncan with Declan. I don't want to bury the lead today, which is obviously the Babs news. Or the Babs pressure, I should say. It's not every day you get to trade for a top 20 player all time. And he does have some things where players, once they get to the north side of 31, players who play a physical brand of basketball like he does start to go downhill. You gave up a lot for him. I would have liked to keep one of Khalil Ware or Jakob Konich. The 13th pick this year, it's like it's 10 deep in the draft. The first round picks in 31 and 33, that's tomorrow's problem. And also the other thing is the people I think see first round pick in the NBA and just as there are 2 rounds in the draft. So it's works a little differently. 1 to 14, that's like the first round. 15 to 30, that's like the second round. 31 to 35, that's like the second and third round. 31 to 35, that's like the fourth round. 36 to 50 is like your fifth and sixth round. 50 to 60 is your seventh round. It's a little bit different in the NBA. You got a top 20 player of all time. I'm not expecting a championship next season, but there will be some games where they look absolutely unbeatable defensively.
It's pretty wild that
Congrats on their 6th seed.
45 and 37, and he's going to play 60 games, but there are going to be a few games where they look
Could you turn around and show people the back of what you're wearing?
Yeah. I made this last night.
I just think that the work effort, this is the kind of quality he puts in everywhere.
Now, for those of you that don't remember, when Bam Adebayo dropped 83 points this season, Declan came in wearing the same jersey with different duct tape on that said 83 on it, and he wrote Adebayo on the back.
The quality you can expect from this show is it will be duct taped together, just like Declan's
exactly.
jersey.
And we're not sure of takeoff or landing.
Yes,
there you go.
Exactly. One other thing we should probably address here. We do have people asking about Paul Coffey and his situation.
I mentioned that he wouldn't be on the bench this year. He will be in the organization. I think he's on the way to a GM's job. We're going to see, I think, somebody said, maybe Krueger, that there's going to be a little attrition in the AGM department for the Oilers moving forward. So that might be an area that Paul Coffey slides into. Okay, anything else? Because we're doing Declinations. It's been a weird show. We usually do a top of the hour. We didn't do that. Jay's bullpen is flags fly forever. They're that good, right? We're so happy with them.
I cannot believe they called back up
Brendan Little.
Your favorite.
Brendan Little, for those who haven't watched the Jays since Brendan Little gets called up and immediately gives up, a home run. He gives up the runs. Brendan Little's ERA, I haven't actually checked it in
27
in a hot minute, but 27. Thank you, Josh.
His ERA in that game against the absolute drubbing they got from the Cubs went from 24.33 to 27 in one inning of action.
He is just the worst. I know I've profusely talked about Jeff Hoffman and my disdain, hatred for Jeff Hoffman. Brendan Little gets called up and immediately gives up 4 runs in his first outing again. This guy is. I've talked about Jeff Hoffman as being broken. Brendan Little, that blowing in the World Series when he gave up. It was him who gave up the Freddie Freeman home run, if I remember correctly. That broke him. He's officially broken. He has, for those of you who track WAR, is a negative 1.4 WAR, which is unheard of when you're a reliever who has appeared in 6 games.
You don't get an opportunity to minus WAR very much if you're a bullpen guy.
6 games, minus 1.4 WAR. That is impressive.
Is that bad? I think that's bad.
That is that's almost record-setting bad.
All right. On the way, it's Declinations. What do we call this thing again?
You know.
High.
Oh my God.
High power, low cheese, right? Is that what it is?
Yeah, I thought you were gonna say high bridge, low something else. You just do something.
Okay,
different
it's
every
heat
time.
check ice bath. I'm just teasing the youngsters here. That's on the way. Lowdown with Lowetide, brought to you by Wolf GMC Buick. Looking for a truck that could handle anything, Alberta?
But it's Portugal on the surge with Bruno Fernandes. Cristiano Ronaldo. He's done it again. Just felt as though this FIFA World Cup was not quite complete. Aldo. But it's Mendes. He drills it in. Portugal score again. Portugal are firmly awake at this World Cup. Interchanging of the French players as well. And Mbappe hits it. Oh, what a strike! He said yesterday, we are writing the pages of history here. Well, he's blazing a trail of his own.
Big bin sale is back. Everything in the off-cut bins, 30% off. A wide assortment of miscellaneous metal, price to clear. Just in time for your next DIY project. But hurry, it's selling faster than a guy kicking a ball on the grass to another guy. And, forget it. When's hockey season start anyhow? Metal Supermarkets, the local convenience stores for Southside, West End, metalsupermarkets.com.
It might have been scraped by the snowblower, dented while door crashing, or crunched at the company Christmas party. At some point over the winter, your car was damaged, and it's been hiding under a coat of winter grime.
Then come and see Robertson Body Works. We can take care of the damage and the dirt. This week only, call and book a repair and get a complete auto detailing absolutely free.
But you have to book your appointment before the week is up. Go to robertsonbodyworks.com.
I'm Tim Robertson, and I fix cars.
The Lowdown with Lowetide on Sports 1440. Author, musical connoisseur, sports know-it-all. Yes, a man for all seasons.
Presented by Wolf GMC Buick. We're making it easy. WolfGMCBuick.com.
$139. This is the Lowdown for Wolf GMC Buick. Check them out, wolfgmcbuick.com. Beautiful day in Edmonton. And as usual, on any June day, every office is talking about the Edmonton Oilers. It never, ever stops. It is time for Declinations, brought to you by the Edmonton Elks. Next home game Thursday, July 9. Come see the most explosive player in the CFL, Justin Rankin. He's impossible. He really is. Lock in your tickets at goelks.com/Declinations. tickets. And now it's time for Heat Check, Ice Bath, and Declan Krueger.
Okay, I'll make mine very quick. I actually have two, but I'm going to make both of them really quick. Obviously, Miami Heat, you are my Heat check. You just traded for a top 20 player of all time. That doesn't happen every day. I always like to put things in hockey terms. Maybe like if Nathan McKinnon was in David Pasternak's situation and he got traded to your favorite team. That's kind of what happened a little bit. And then my other one, Greg Wyshynski, he had a tweet. Babcock is completely unrepentant and the mask is slipping now. Thought that was a sentiment that we echoed here on the show. So I like to see Greg tweeting that as well. And then my ice bath, just real simple. NHL expansion to Texas. I understand that I'm not an owner and there's a huge population base in both Austin and Houston. There's a lot of money there probably for the owners' pockets. Quebec City, I've been calling for Saskatoon. I know that's probably a pipe dream. Would have loved to see it.
Probably.
So yeah, I know, but I would just love them to get an NHL team. But that would be my Heat check and my ice bath for today.
If the NHL expanded to 100 teams, Saskatoon might be real.
I'm pro Saskatchewan.
Saskatoon could do it. I know they have like 220K people there.
People would drive from
North
North Battleford to watch the games.
Well, if their catalytic converters haven't been stolen.
Oh my!
But like the province would rally around a Saskatoon NHL team the way they do the Rough Riders.
Yeah.
They
All
run
right.
the province's team. Yeah.
All right. Who's next?
I am.
All
The
right.
problem is Saskatoon, very windy out there. So in the winter, while slipping and sliding on those roads.
Yeah, I think it's sand, salt.
Heat check. Shout out to my favorite hockey team, Flames. Just coming down the wire. Simone Nemec, welcome to the Calgary Flames organization. Yeah, you know what? You got a nice young D-man, number 2 overall pick 4 years ago. I'm now very excited for the season to start. Unfortunately, it is still...
Got to sign him, though.
I know.
No.
But they will. Unfortunately, the season is still, 90 days away. So...
Unfortunately?
Correct.
You don't like the sun.
Well, I mean, the sun will still be out in late September. I love the sun. I wish it was out more. Anyways, ice bath. My other favorite team, the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, on this would be Friday, June 19th. They're playing a game. They were up by 7 runs going into the end of the game. Jose Soriano pitched an absolute ball.
Did he get the win?
He did not. Because the Angels, this is per OptiStats, are the first team in MLB history to hit 5+ homers, have a 7+ run inning, and have a 7+ run lead, and yet lose the game.
That sounds bad.
Talk about the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim in a nutshell. That is them. They will find a way to lose. It also speaks to that how they have the worst bullpen in baseball.
Well, maybe they should trade for some of the Jays guys.
Yeah, they should trade.
They
for
have
Brendan
Tyler
Miller.
Heineman right now, second best reliever on the Jays roster. Honestly, so maybe they should say, hey, you know what, Logan O'Hoppy's fine at catcher. You start coming in, work the 7th, okay?
Love it. Love those soft balls. They're really good.
Yeah, they should
Slow
trade.
balls.
They should trade for permanent AAA reliever Brendan Little.
Anyways,
because as expected, the Jays, they sent him back down because why wouldn't you after a guy gives up 4 earned?
That's a wasted flight. Is
Exactly.
What that is.
Anyways, screw the Los Angeles Angels. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
They need to trade Mike Trout. I mean, come on, please do. But I'll start with my heat check. I'll give credit to a lot of the questions asked down at the Mike Babcock press conference. Excuse me. I thought, with the exception of maybe 2 questions, I thought every question was to the point and addressed everything that needed to be addressed. As for Mike Babcock himself, did he address those questions adequately? I would say no. So this press conference was both a heat check and an ice bath for me. Mike Babcock himself was the ultimate ice bath. I thought there was a lack of accountability. There was he just dodged everything. It was disappointing. I was hoping that you would see some level of accountability and some ownership of what he's done in the past. But in his mind, he didn't do anything wrong. So to me, I was willing to give him some chance if he owned up to something. But from where I'm sitting, this is still a guy who, man, I don't know the quality of human being.
All right. My heat check is Oilers organization. I will give them credit for allowing the tough questions early. For many years, the first question is often from a rights holder, and it's a soft toss. It's a lob. And I don't know who decided. I know they got good people over there, but this was the right way to go. You did it absolutely correctly. The first question came from someone who did not represent the rights holder, and it was high heat. Well done. And that should continue, but it was really well done. Ice bath, Mike Babcock. The fact that it's impossible to say you're sorry tells us everything. And it doesn't give anybody anywhere to go. So the story doesn't end. There's no relief for the Oilers or for Mike Babcock because there's no thought of redemption. There's no ask for forgiveness. And when you have a situation like this, it's not an end, it's a continuation. It's an ongoing. And it's late in life just to be not learning this. And that is, I mean, Donovan said disappointing. It's in a way, it's beyond that. It's devastating that we are at a point in life where we just can't say, hey, you know what? I'm really sorry. And what that would mean to the people, if you've ever been brutalized or bullied by anybody, somebody asking for forgiveness of you means everything. And the fact that wasn't given today, it's beyond disappointing. I don't have a word that I can use, but what it is, it keeps the story alive. And that's one thing I'm sure the Oilers, who smartly said, ask the tough questions early, we're hoping to see. They didn't get that. And so this story continues, and it will until Mike Babcock leaves or until he has in his heart, the knowledge that he's hurt people and the regret that has occurred. It doesn't work any other way, people. Nobody is above anybody in life. And this was not that day. It wasn't. And that's disappointing. All right. I've had my say. Anything else?
To me, there was just, if he would have just attacked this head on instead of deflecting everything.
I just think there has to be everybody sees it where you have a moment where you go, I heard the words and I felt badly.
Yeah.
And what there are just people, I have people in my life when I was younger who were like that. And you eventually fade them, right?
Of course.
To survive.
Yep.
So when this doesn't happen, then the media is not going to go away on this. And, we're going to get, I haven't read text, but we're going to get a ton of them. Why don't you, so soft? It's not about that. It's about, there's a great world waiting for Mike Babcock after he says, I'm sorry. And he can't, he can't do that. And that is a flaw.
If he would have come out and said, this was a mistake, that was a mistake, I own up to this, I wouldn't have believed that I'm a changed man thing. But if he would have at least said, I have some remorse for something that I've done, I would have actually come on here and given him a little bit of credit.
Well,
but he did none of that.
That's what I thought we would get like a, you learn over time or, but it really was just, I don't think I did anything wrong in Columbus. So I left.
Yeah, instead it was him telling us his wife got in his ear and said it was
My
time to
wife.
hit the road. That's the best we can do.
And his kids. It was about conversations with his kids. It was just, that felt like the least productive version of that press conference that could have ever happened. I'll give credit to Stan Bowman. I thought he answered what he needed to answer.
Everything was set up. The questions were asked, but in the right order. Bowman did well, but there are people in the world who are like that, who just cannot understand that being human ingratiates you to other people. It doesn't make you less, it makes you more. But you can't hold on to that and expect people to forgive, because there's no forgiveness when you don't ask for it. I know I'm being biblical, I'm sorry, but this is a strange day in sports. It truly is. And I think we'll be talking about it for many years. And I go back to what I said earlier about Pat Quinn and Tom Rennie. I think the Oilers hired 2 head coaches today. One in waiting, and one is Mike Babcock.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree. I mean, we'll see what happens with the future of this coaching staff and DJ Smith in particular. But yeah, like I think the DJ Smith's a smart hire.
Yeah,
and that's kind of your prototypical good cop.
I think that we'll give Mark and St. Albert the final word on this subject. You guys are lame.
Well, I was going to say, like, the real ice bath is us being a bunch of lib snowflakes. That's the real ice bath. And
well,
the
we
heat
expected that.
The heat check are the friends and the apologies we made along the way.
Yeah. We're the problem here.
Mark says you'd feel better if he lied. No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that's wrong too.
But at least take a page out of press conference 101. That was my thing about that press conference, because I feel like press conference 101 is go back and look at the Stan Bowman press conference, go back and look at the Evander Kane press. Actually, maybe I'm misremembering that one a little bit now that I think about it more. But I think there was at least some semblance of ownership to something, if I remember correctly. Maybe I'm the idiot in this situation, but I know the Stan Bowman one. Like he tackled everything that was asked his way. I just look at any press conference pretty much ever with any guy who had some form of baggage coming with him. They usually tackle the questions.
Well, he
doesn't owe, and people are saying he doesn't owe the media an apology.
It's not us that are looking for an apology.
Us that are looking for apology. We are doing our jobs in the sense, and for everybody who is listening to that press conference, everybody who's asking the tough questions is doing their jobs.
Right.
You're just doing,
not an easy job.
And us talking about it is us doing our jobs. This is not about us. We don't care about the apology. It's not for us.
No. Although there's a lot of people out there who this sort of event will force them to relive some things. I've done it today. I didn't want to, but I have during this process. And that's who my heart goes out to, because, every time something like this occurs, you are reminded of your own situation, and that is too bad. It is. It's something that we hope that we all get better at as we go through life. But we are here now. Jason Krueger was there, asked some great questions. Very proud of him. I thought he did. He lingered on the question, which is what you need to do, and he repeated it in a different way, and he got I think more out of it, and I think that I'll be very interested in listening to what he has to say at 2:00 today about the media veil. And there's a bunch of things that come with that. Paul Coffey won't be behind the bench. DJ Smith will coach the defense. McFarland's the power play, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And then
Aubrey, the goalie.
Aubrey, the goalie coach. So we got it all together there. And so the Oilers go to the draft. They have a second round pick. Didn't really talk about personnel so much. I think there will be changes. What if they can't trade Darnell Nurse? They've already spent a lot of the money.
They're going to be able to trade Darnell Nurse. It's just how much are they going to retain? How much are they going to eat?
Yeah.
That's the question.
Yeah, you're probably right. So Nick Seeler and $2 million gets them Nurse out?
I don't know. I don't know what they're looking for in return, right? It all depends on what they're looking for.
Right. That's a good point. All right. We will find out in the days to come. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Lowdown with Lowetide. Jason Krueger is on the way. Enjoy your day.
This is a Sports 1440 update.
Brought to you by Sean Cunningham of Remax Real Estate. Remax from the Edmonton or area. You can call or text Sean 780-265-0165. News around the hockey world as Simon Nemec is on the move. He has been traded to the Calgary Flames with 2 firsts and a second in 27 and 28 heading back to New Jersey. Other news from around the sporting world is the NHL is looking into expansion in either Austin or Houston. And of course, Mike Babcock officially named head coach of the Edmonton Oilers today. One final from the FIFA World Cup earlier was Portugal over Uzbekistan 5-0. Cristiano Ronaldo with 2 goals. England and Ghana set to go in about 4 minutes time here. While in the MLB, we'll see the action get going at 2:07 with the Jays and the Astros. Shane Bieber on the bump for that one. The late game today in the MLB, we'll see the Athletics and the Giants. I'm Declan Krueger. This has been a Sports 1440 update.
Sports 1440 in West Edmonton Mall and Wetaskiwin. CKJR is a